Hello everyone, I'm Paolo Ferrarini, and on behalf of EXTRALIGHT, I would like to welcome you all to the fourth episode of the Human Difference Talks. This is a series where we discuss with exceptionally creative people about humanity, creativity, and making a difference. This is the last episode of this strange 2020, and we had the privilege to virtually meet Ravi Naidu from Cape Town, Karim Rashid from New York City, Jerry Lorenzo from Los Angeles. Today we are honored to have Sara Sozzani Maino live from Milan. Ciao Sara.
Ciao Paolo.
Sara Sozzani Maino is the Deputy Director of Vogue Italia and Head of Vogue Talents. She is as well a brand ambassador of the Camera Nazionale della Moda Italiana. She is part of the prestigious BOF 500 and has been part of international juries such as LVMH Prize for Young Fashion Designers, Fashion Trust Arabia, and ETS International Talents Support. Let's start immediately with the most obvious question. The one that they will have asked you like hundreds of times and that we cannot avoid, nevertheless. What is talent in fashion today and how we can recognize it?
Well, it's as I said, it's very curious because everyone asks the question, and probably it's very natural that people ask me this question, and it's not always so easy to answer it, meaning that talent, it's something that you have, or you also can cultivate. I mean, I don't think it's something that if you don't have in the beginning, it's something impossible to have, especially right now. I mean, in this challenging time that we're all facing, for me, talent, it's someone who is very creative, but in a way has a vision and a strong message to give. Right now, we are facing a lot of challenges and problems, but I think that we're all very clear on the fact that we want to make projects and new ideas to think of a better future and planet. So I do think that right now it's fundamental that for a creative designer has a vision and a message, and the message can go through obviously being responsible, but also through social community, because it's important also to consider the community where you live. And also right now that we are all, closed at home, or we are not able to travel, even to kind of rediscover what we have in our countries, in our home, in our city. So I think that talent, it's a mix of everything. Going to fashion, talent is that designer that manages to give you kind of an emotion of ideas when you see him or her and talk to him or her, and understand that there is a really message behind it. That's not just about the clothing, but there's something more behind it. So I think this is something very, very important.
Sara, do you have a method to recognize talent, or is it more like a feeling when you are in front of someone you would bet on? I mean, they are doing something that is going to grow and be successful. Do you have a method to measure it, or is just your guts?
Basically, it's a lot of guts, and I think it's also getting responsibilities. Obviously, there are very important pillars for a designer to be seen. That it's important, as I said and repeat always, to give a vision, a message, and also the quality of the work that they're presenting. It's fundamental. I always think that designers at the beginning, obviously, they usually do small collection, but it's not even true, because about the money and about the fact that you're just starting. But always remember, it's about the quality and not the quantity. So it's something also very, very important. And I love this job also. Right now I can't, but until last year, until the beginning of this year, to travel and meet persons and visit countries that I never met, and do cultural clashes, and getting to know people that come from really different regions, religions, traditions. And I think this is something that's kind of unique. And also this is something very important, which I look at when I see designers, coming from different countries and backgrounds.
Yes. Your first experience in fashion dates back to the 90s when you started working in the family boutique, 10 Corso Como, just opened. But once you told me that fashion was not exactly your dream, you didn't intend to work in fashion. What made you change your mind?
Oh my God, when you say the 90s, it seems like 100 years ago now.
Yeah.
No, obviously, I grew up in a fashion family, but when I grew, I was like really, feeling my school age, being 16 and having fun and arriving at 18, about thinking, what to do in the future. And I wasn't really thinking about fashion because I don't know, even though, my family was just, working in that, it's nothing that, probably I breathed and kind of absorbed, but in a natural way, not really a conscious way. And so the fact is that I just, finished school and I wanted to do university and I wanted to work because maybe studying wasn't like my first priority. So I studied university and then I dropped because I began to work. So it came natural to work, when you start working, maybe you help your parents and everything. But then for me it was not easy to work with my parents directly. So it came really natural to say, well, Franca, she works in a magazine. Maybe she needs an internship and she needs an intern, sorry. And so that's how I began and kind of fell in love completely, I think, after a week. But because it was, something, I had the opportunity to work on the 30th anniversary book of Italian Vogue. So I was like closed in an archive for 6 months. So I absorbed the fashion in all its, in all its forms, photography, clothes, designers, photographers, artists. So this is much it.
Yeah. How did the publishing industry changed in the time? Because you started when it was only paper, and now it's not only paper. There's a lot of digital too. Is it just a matter of new media, new forms, or there's also a new way of conceiving the fashion publishing as well?
Well, sorry. In the meantime, at this hour of the time, my cat wakes up, so I need to grab him. If not, he begins to shout. Probably you already heard him. Sorry about that.
And we're all home, so it's this is what happens.
No, I know, but it's funny because he wakes up around like 5:36 and he begins to like roar and say, I'm hungry. So now I'm trying to keep him calm. And obviously changes have been so radical in the last 10 years, but like now each year is like 5 years, it's so fast. And obviously the big change came, we are speaking about us as Vogue, as a magazine. The big change came up in 2009 when we launched the website. It was one of the first Vogue going online, and it was a tool that at that time it was incredible because it had, you had all that space, infinite space to fill in with things that. For a magazine, you couldn't, give everything. So even when Franca decided to show the backstages of the fashion shootings of the magazine, it was something very innovative because everyone, was really curious to know what happened behind the scenes. So I think that was really the big change. And then obviously many things happened, and then the radical change came with Instagram. And I think that right now, I think paper magazine are something that will remain probably, obviously, in a less number of magazines, but it's something that, it stays because I mean, especially for, for a fashion magazine to see pictures on paper, it's different from, the online, but, through Instagram and web, you have the opportunity to communicate so much and support also many other talents that you wouldn't have the space to do it in a magazine. So, I think it has its really positive aspects, but you really need them to use them in a very smart and correct way.
Sure. And last year we celebrated 10 years of Vogue Talents, which is another gigantic milestone in your career. Vogue Talents is a reference point all over the world to spot and to understand young creativity in fashion. Can you tell us a little bit about how that project was born and how it has developed in the years?
Well, the project was born in 2000. I mean, the idea came out in 2008, then the first issue came out in 2009. I mean, it came out more obviously by the vision of Franca and me being very stubborn of continuing to do kind of scouting, because obviously when I started working in the magazine, I was very lucky because I had, the opportunity, first of all, of time. I mean, like my internship lasted almost 6 years, probably. It was another time. It was, it was slow timing. And so I had the opportunity to work in all the departments of the magazine. And at that time, it was for me very, very difficult to find a path that would have been constructed by myself. I never compared myself with Franca or my mother or my family, because that would have been the most wrong thing I could have done. So I was trying, not desperately, but trying to find, my path. And while I was assisting stylist, I was stylist myself. We had some enclosures of the magazine dedicated to trends and shopping. So I was going around through showrooms and trade fairs, because I liked trying to find new things for my shootings as a stylist, but also discover things. So to keep it very straightforward, at a certain point, 2004, we had already launched Who's On Next, which is our contest dedicated to made in Italy. And at a certain point, I was speaking to Franca, that she was saying, well, you continue to come out with all these designers, and we have the space in some of our issues, but not always. Why don't we dedicate something more specific? And I said, well, yeah, really. And this is how, and I said, okay, let's call it Vogue Talents. And this is how everything began.
No, it's a beautiful story. And I have to say, I've seen you at work in several occasions. And I really have to say that the dedication and the passion that you put into every single meeting, every single person that you meet is really, really admirable and not very common in the fashion sector. So it takes a lot of energy and a lot of, you have to be very, very constant to do that. And so it's
very,
something,
very,
yes, something
very
that,
passionate.
yes,
too.
yes. And a lot of people appreciate that, and they know that.
No, I think, and I just add this something that you said. For me, the reason why also Vogue Talents was born is that, I'm a very lucky person. I never had anything. I had a beautiful life, and also when I was a child, nothing was missing. So I just thought that, for me, obviously then for everyone, there's a stage of time that you go a little bit in crisis. So at that time, when I didn't really know what to do, Franca opened the door to the magazine and gave me a chance. Obviously, then the road was long. But at that time, when I began to think about how can I find my path, and then I found it through Vogue Talents, was really, someone opened the door to me, but who's going to open the door, to the new generation to all those people that have talent but do not have a platform, do not have the voice, do not have the opportunity. So this is something that really is not gonna go away from me. And in it's a way, for me, it's always an everyday giving back to what I always had, in my life. And moreover, it's a passion I have. So it's also very hardworking, but I love doing it. So this is very lucky, double lucky.
Yeah. I want to remind to our listeners and to our audience that we have the Q&A section. If you want to ask Sara some questions, we will keep our discussion very short because I'm sure that there's several questions and a lot of people that would like to interact with her. So please use the Q&A section for your questions. Sara, let's switch to the next big part of your career, that is supporting responsibility and sustainability in the fashion system, that we know it's something that we have to work on for so many different reasons, but we have to do that. A few days ago, I was browsing through my old books and I found this guide to sustainable fashion. And I didn't remember the date. I checked the date. It was published in 2003. And I have to say, some of the things that were mentioned to be worth changing in the fashion system in that book are still the things that we need to change right now. Sara, where should a fashion company start in order to address the environmental issues that fashion is facing today?
Well, the question is complicated, but the answer is easy. I think that a company, in the moment that they realize that they have to change because what they're doing right now, it's wrong, it means that they realize that, the change has to be done and they have to be more responsible. This is the big thing. Until the company and the people that work in the company don't realize that, they could be the change makers, nothing is going to happen. So I think that right now big companies are obviously very sensible to the argument, and they want to make the changes. I just think, and this is something I always repeat, even yesterday I had another webinar, is that there has to be more communication. Even big brands, which we know that they cannot become responsible from one day to another, they have to communicate to the common people, meaning common people which are not in the industry, that they're doing changes, because if not, people will never begin to request and will begin to buy or will begin to consume in more responsible way if they don't get used to and be kind of bombarded by media that they need to change, because changes, obviously the big companies are the big change makers, but then everyone, us every day, can be change makers. So this is something that has to become very natural, and that media like us need to communicate as much as possible in a also more simple way as we can, because obviously the sustainable responsible world is very complicated, because it's not that you can become like this from one day to another, but it has to be reachable, and people think about how can they act.
Yeah. If you were to become like the CEO of a large fashion company or a large fashion group, what would be the first action you would take to make a human and responsible change? The first thing, your first day at work as a CEO.
Okay. If I would
be brave.
Be a CEO of a...
Be brave.
Okay, I would close the door and go away. No, I'm joking. No, I don't know. First of all, I don't know if that would be a role I would want to do, but not because I'm not interested, but because I'm more about sharing and getting to know different realities. But obviously, if I would be CEO of a company, the first thing I would do is probably get all the people that work for the company and make them do a 6-month master course or in responsibility, because probably 3/4 of the people wouldn't even know what we are talking about. So that's probably the first thing I would do.
Yeah, yes.
Because obviously, I mean, you cannot do changes if the people that work for that company are not the first ones to believe it and knowing what they're talking about.
Yeah, so knowledge and culture first.
It's fundamental. I mean, it's me, myself. I mean, I cannot consider myself a well-known person on responsible and sustainable fashion. I'm learning and I want to learn, and I'm learning more and more, but this is something that has to come from you. And if you work for a company that makes you understand that this is the changes. I mean, we got used to change the your new Mac to another Mac, and the kind of mails that maybe you pass from one system to another. I mean, human beings are very flexible in changes, and they can really adapt. So I wouldn't think why not to adapt to a change and learn how to be responsible.
Yeah. And this is an idea that we like here, because we're talking about human difference, and this is where probably human difference can start in a way. Talking of which, Sara, everything you do has a great deal of work with teams, from the education part to the teamwork that you do at Vogue Italia. All the processes, all the projects that you have is about teamwork, and sometimes international teams as well, like in the juries, for example. What does it mean for you to coordinate a group of people?
Well, for me, I mean, obviously Vogue Talents, I'm the face, but it's not just a person, it's a team. And for me, I have to say that it comes very natural, because for me, teamwork, we are all, at the same level. I always say it's not my assistant, we work all together, and we work, for one scope. So for me, teamwork is fundamental. And obviously, working for a magazine, it comes very natural to work in team. It's not easy, because obviously when you have a lot of people and it's character and everyone is different from one another, but always what I've tried to put together with the people that work for me is that they're passionate in finding and be curious and be ready to support those talents and that need to be seen. So this is something that I always try to find, and I've always been very lucky to have and to work with people very passionate and also very responsible. I mean, responsible meaning responsible of their duties.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you, Sara. I would like to go straight to the Q&As from the audience, because I'm seeing quite a long list. So I would start with those questions right away. The first question from Carlo: how is your generation different from today's creative minds? Yes, the young, the super fresh, super young generation. What's the difference between our generation and their generation?
Well, we have more experience. No, I can say that, obviously, no.
Yeah.
But I think, the real difference is that, in a way, all of us, we're born in different periods and generations, and everyone really faced challenges. We face challenges with different aspects. The new generation now is facing different challenges. But the main difference is that, the new generation right now are having tools of communication and expressing themselves which we didn't have at all. I mean, I'm not so old, and when I started working, there was no, internet was arriving, and we didn't have computers. We sent faxes. There was no emails. Which sometimes I say maybe I would go back. No, I'm joking, but sometimes yes, because with all the emails that we receive, it's a nightmare. But it's a nightmare. I mean, I would love to answer to everyone, but it's impossible. And well, this is the big difference. I mean, I think you, as all new generation, you have so much chances that we didn't have, but which doesn't mean that you are more lucky than ours. You just have more tools to express yourself that before we didn't have. This is the main, and by creative minds, I think, creative minds, I have to say, I mean, if you're creative 30 years ago and you are creative now. I just think that right now there are a lot of inputs of what's happening around the world, but it was happening even before. But now, when you have an idea, you can yell it on Instagram or on Twitter or now TikTok, which is positive and at the same time also very dangerous when it's not a positive message. But creative mind doesn't change in the generations. I think it's just an evolution of it.
Yeah. We have a question from Daphne, and it's about how to reduce the footprint on the industry. It's a very specific question. Do you think making collection in a slower pace and less quantity of styles, that is a mix of timeless pieces together with the brand new, is a good approach to reduce this footprint? So slower pace, less quantity of style, a mix of timeless pieces and something brand new. Could it be a nice recipe?
Well, yeah, for sure. I mean, Daphne, because I think that, I mean, my kind of mantra right now is really quality and not quantity. I mean, if we stop producing clothes today, I mean, I think we could go on for the next 100 years. I mean, it's just ridiculous the quantity of production it's done. So for sure, I think slow fashion has a big impact on the footprint. Absolutely. So I do believe it. I believe that right now, when you do the collections, you need to think about also that. I mean, I want to do clothes for people to have it timeless. I mean, just thinking of beauty and quality and not about quantity. I think this is fundamental.
Yes. And the concept of time itself is changing quite a lot in fashion, because we are living very, very strange times where time gets squeezed on or expanded in a constant way. So also probably the fashion system has to think about reconsidering the concept itself of time, like season or the collection. Do you see in this sense from in particular younger generations new ways of approaching like the rhythms of the collections, because it's a big talk in the fashion industry about getting rid of the traditional fashion calendar, for example. What do you think about that?
Well, I mean, I think getting rid of the calendars wouldn't really kind of solve the problem. I mean, calendars, I mean, have to remain. It's just the approach and the system that needs to change. I mean, I think that the new generation right now, it has like a white plain paper and they can kind of dictate their rules. I mean, why do we have to think always of pre-collection, capsule collection? I mean, a designer produces and does as much as he can and what he needs to express. I mean, I think that's the market that needs to change. Unfortunately, then it's not always the case. But if everyone starts doing that, I mean, then the slowness will become very natural. So I think this is very, very important.
Yeah. One last question. to Sara from Sara. What is success for you?
Hi, Sarah. Well, for me, success is when I see it's in two terms. When I see a designer that we have supported that manages to arrive and succeed in his or her goals, I think that's already a very big success, and I'm happy because all the work I do is for the new generation, for you. So when I see that someone gets his or her goals, I mean, that's for me, it's a success. And another success for me is to see that the messages we're giving, especially on responsibility throughout our issues of Vogue Talents that comes out in February, that people read it, that people really want to do it. And I see, and I'm happy and feel successful when you hear, designers, students, that they say, listen, we want to be more responsible. How can you help us? Where do we start from? So this is, I think, successful way of seeing things.
Yes. Okay, thank you, Sara. Thank you very much for your generosity,
Thank you.
openness.
Always a pleasure, Paolo.
Yes, my pleasure too. Hope to see you soon in person. And
Exactly.
yes, it's been a long time now, but it will happen soon. So thank you from me, and also on behalf of Excel Extra Light, and see you soon. Thank you, everyone, for listening and watching, Sara. Okay.
Thank you, and thank you also to Excel Extra Light for having me. So thank you very much. Also.
Okay.
And see you soon.
Talk to you soon. Take care. Ciao.
Okay.
Ciao, Sara. Ciao.
Bye. Bye.
And thank you, everyone. So this is ciao, Sara. So this is the end of the 4th episode of this first series of the Human Difference Talks. And stay tuned, and hope to see you soon and talk to you soon. And take care. Ciao a tutti.